Welcome to this episode of the Keto Vegan Podcast. I'm Rach. I am your host. In today's episode, I make chocolate brownies with some peanut butter in them as well, and walnuts, so you cannot give these to anybody with a nut allergy. In the brownies, and if you're watching, you'll be able to see the ingredients on the screen. I have got 60 grams of ground almonds or almond flour, 40 grams of cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda, same thing, 100 grams of truvia for baking brown sugar. Flipping thing, I can't seem to get hold of that anymore. Half a teaspoon of salt, 90 grams of chocolate, roughly chopped. Now, I use the Nibble, the Madagascan chocolate chips. They are really good. They are vegan. They are the lowest sugar chocolate I can find. I can only get it online though. 30 grams of coconut oil, 90 grams of smooth peanut butter, 30 grams of sugar-free maple syrup, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 flax eggs, but I haven't used flax eggs. I prefer to use this all-gran, no egg replacer. Now, this is an ultra-processed food. If you would just prefer the flax eggs, use those. And actually, next time I make these, if I do, I might do the flax eggs. Then you've got 60 more grams of chocolate, roughly chopped, but you don't need to roughly chop it because it's the chocolate drops from the Nibble, and 70 grams of walnuts chopped. Those are the ingredients. There is a list of the ingredients in the show notes. So here are all my ingredients ready for me to start measuring out on my trusted scales. I've got a feeling I can just pour it all in, apart from maybe the stuff I need to melt, like the coconut oil and the peanut butter. And it said that I had to line with parchment paper an 8x8 tin. I realised then I haven't got any parchment paper. This is how organised I am. But I have got these silicone sheets that I've cut to shape. And I have, because I haven't got any parchment paper, I couldn't use the parchment paper to butter the sides of this dish. So I used a knife and my vegan butter. So I'm now going to put this face down in here, so I put butter on that side so it sticks nicely, and there we are. That'll be ready for all of that to go in, and I now need to turn the oven on to pre-warm it to 180 degrees centigrade. The recipe I'm following is a vegan recipe but not keto, so I've ketosized it. There's not such a word, is it? And it's requiring 2 flax eggs. I'm not using flaxseed. I'm going to use the all-gran, no egg replacer. And so 2 flax eggs, I'm assuming is 2 eggs. I have put 4 tablespoons of water in there and 2 teaspoons of the powder. And I've used proper equipment, not just guessing, because we know what I'm like. In the bowl, I'm going to combine the dry ingredients. So that's the ground almonds, the sugar, cocoa powder, bicarb of soda or baking soda, and some salt. That's the chocolate melted very carefully in the microwave. You do not want to burn your chocolate in the microwave. So I put it on 50. So I think full power, my microwave is probably about 800. So I put it down to half power, 2 minutes, gave it a stir, 2 more minutes, and it was done. So always give it a stir between times because the chocolate doesn't look as if it's melted, but it has melted. I'm now going to heat up the coconut oil and the smooth peanut butter and add those too. In here are the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to whisk those together. That is the melted chocolate, melted peanut butter, melted coconut oil, vanilla essence, the maple syrup, and the pretend eggs. Whisk it all together and then gradually add the dry mixture to it and then the chopped walnut pieces. In my true style, I couldn't be bothered to gradually fold it all in and mixing it and pouring the dry mix into the wet mix. So I have dolloped the wet mix into the dry mix. I am then going to give it a whisk with my trusted hand whisk. The recipe said add 60 grams of roughly chopped chocolate to mix in. I'm obviously using the Nibble Divinely Dark Madagascan chocolate chips as well, but I've put in 100 grams because that mixture looks incredibly dry. I wonder what it's going to be like. I'm then going to chop the walnuts and add, I think the recipe says 90 grams of those. It was 70 grams of walnuts, not 90, thank goodness, because I had exactly 70 grams of walnuts. Love it when a plan comes together. It's unusual, isn't it, that I've got exactly the right amount of ingredients. I'm going to mix that together, not with a mixer, just with a spatula or wooden spoon. And then I'm going to put it in the square baking dish. In it went the Pampered Chef baking dish, the stoneware. Can't get those anymore from Pampered Chef. And that went in the oven for about 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes at the most. The instructions say until it's just set in the centre. And then you allow it to cool completely to room temperature before cutting it into squares. And you can keep it in the fridge for up to 4 days, or you can freeze it. Now, I was making these brownies and last episode chocolate nutty squares for a little do that I was having for my neighbours. It was the 22nd of December, just before Christmas, and I invited my neighbours around for a neighbours get together, mulled wine and mince pies. Now, I don't eat mince pies, I don't like mince pies, but Co-op do a good vegan mince pies at Christmas. I made a lovely mulled wine with Pinot Noir, so it's low sugar, and it said about the same amount of Pinot Noir and water, and then you can add brandy if you want. Now, I did taste the mulled wine, not usually a fan, and it was really weak, so I added loads of brandy in it, which made it much, much nicer. Neighbours loved it, and the food I did, if you're watching, you can see. So I was playing around then with that tofu hummus, if you remember. So I made a sweet chili tofu hummus. I made artichoke and spinach dip. You can find those in previous episodes. I made a guacamole, and this is because I've got this new food processor, which is lovely. I made some savoury spiral whirls. Didn't eat those because they are not keto. They are definitely vegan though, and really lovely. I did some marinated, what was it? I think it was Richmond chicken pieces, the vegan Richmond chicken pieces. I marinated those in like a satay sort of thing, and I made a lovely satay dip too. I also did stuffed peppers. So that was really lovely afternoon. All neighbours were invited, including children. I know what's coming over me. And then it lasted, I think I invited people over from about 2 o'clock until people wanted to go. And I think the last ones went about 8 o'clock, which meant I could just go to bed, tidy up and go to bed. I did say that I'd tell you how scrumptious the brownies were, and that was at the end of last episode when I made those chocolate nutty squares. My opinion on the chocolatey things is they are very indulgent. They are low carbs, they're not keto entirely. So having 1 or 2 pieces is absolutely fine, but can you stop yourself at 1 or 2 pieces? I know sometimes I can't. And then I find the double cream, keto, raspberries, low carb, and put it all on. Lovely. Now the brownies, I said they were dry, didn't I? They were dry. They were okay in small measures. If you've tried them, let me know. Next time I make them, which won't be for another year, will it? Because I don't do things like that. Unless I'm going to do some entertaining in the summer and do cakes as well. Another vegan barbecue, perhaps. But if I make them again, I will add more liquidy ingredients so that the dry mixture, once it's mixed with the wet mixture, isn't still really, really dry. So I hope I remember that. Somebody remind me. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next time, no idea what I'm going to do. I might do some sort of stats around Veganuary, but I'm not sure. It might be some other cooking. Don't know. It's half term this week, so I'm not as busy as I am usually. So I might make some tofu hummus, some intentionally. And this time I'm not going to use, I think I might have used raw garlic last time and it's far too garlicky. I actually ended up throwing it away because it was that sharpness of that garlic. I'm going to use garlic paste, which isn't quite as raw as fresh garlic minced up. And you know I love my food processor, so that's what I'm going to do next episode. Maybe. Or veganuary, as I said. We'll see. See you next time.